We've explored some ideas, competitive wargaming, this idea of attending a tournament, playing a number of scenarios, and doing the best that you can to place and rank. And I've been pushing up some competitive wargaming Tactica videos and vlogs to the channel here under that playlist. I've always encouraged narrative players, once in a while, step out of that and play in a tournament. Play a little bit competitively, simply because there is the opportunity to make some massive gains in your wargaming Tactica and understanding. The first is you're put on the spot immediately. I love playing with the same guys, and we've got a lot of history. We go back and forth. We've created a lot of good memories. But if you've been playing with me a number of years, you know kind of what I'm going to do. And you know if you issue me a challenge, I'm going to go for that tabletop glory. I'm okay with it. You learn that player personality. Now, that is so much. That is so much of the game and so much that's fun. But when you step up to a tournament scenario, you're at that table, you've got, 2.5 hours to complete the game, you're ready to go. You need to adapt in that moment. The second aspect is to bring so many players into that tournament that you get to meet fellow wargaming enthusiasts. You get to see during the break a ton of different armies, a ton of different conversions, some really great ideas. You get to see other players and kind of network. It cuts down that learning curve and creates so many opportunities. So even if you're like, look, I'm not in it for the competition, I really don't like a lot of competition, I think like maybe 2 or 3 times a year is really, really good. That will help make you a better narrative player. Now, we got that framework out of the way because there is no right or wrong way to wargame, and I want you to enjoy the most out of your miniature collection. We're going all in competitive play. And in this vlog, I want to focus on doubles tournaments and the opportunities that they present. Different than single tournaments and different than team tournaments. So let's kind of framework the three of them. Many tournaments are single-player tournaments. I bring my army, I show up, I pair up, we play some games, I get a score, the scores are matched at the end of the evening, the day, 2 days, the event, right? We rank and we play. I'm kind of responsible for myself. Then we've got team tournaments where you join a team or you go with a team where I'm playing my individual game and I'm getting ranked on it. But also based on my scoring, that gets added together with my other teammates, my other 4 or 5 or 6 teammates. And there's 2 tracks of scoring, prize support, and recognition. The first is, of course, the individual players, but then the teams themselves. This is also interesting because it's like, Fritz, don't bring your narrative army, bring that competitive army, because you got to pull your weight. You got to do what you got to do. That's a lot of fun, right? Tournament prep, going with your players and experiencing it. A doubles tournament is where you and another player are on the same side, each playing an army, but playing it as one army, and you're playing against 2 other players. I like doubles tournaments because now I get to hang out with a friend and we get to roll some dice and have some fun and share that Tactica, but I also get to play with 2 other players and experience and see their Tactica and see what they do. I love wargaming with multiple players. So how do we go in to leverage the best that we can? Now, it depends on the rules. Some doubles tournaments will say, here's each player has X number of points, of values, of whatever the currency is to buy your army, and you just show up with that and play. Sometimes what some players will do is they'll build one army that is very, very efficient and optimized and literally like cut it in half and say, you take this half and I take that half. Some tournaments will not allow that, and they'll say, well, you have to play 2 completely different armies, or you can play the same army, but you each need a command structure and a certain support. That changes things a little bit. But essentially, this is the Tactica that I have utilized over and over again to really kind of position myself to do the best that I can. And it requires a certain player personality. It requires that myself and my partner, we both know what we're getting into and we both agree ahead of time. So I have my army and you have your army. We're on the same team. One player is going to tailor their army to go out and cause as much damage as they can, essentially to get across that table or that hex map as fast as they can, engage the other army, cause a lot of damage, and just try to survive as long as they can. But by turn 3, 4, or 5, they are going to be completely obliterated. They're going in there, and they're going to get completely obliterated. But they're going to hit hard. They're going to hit hard. They've got concrete in those boxing gloves. They're going to hit hard, and they're going to cause a lot of damage, and it's going to be very hard to dislodge them. Building your army to do that. Now, that requires a certain player personality in that you're going to get stomped, you're going to get destroyed, you're going to get ganged up on by 2 armies. And by turn 3 or 4, you're going to be pretty much tabled and obliterated. The second army, the second player, builds their army to purely focus on mission goals. Everything is optimized for mission goals. Shooting elements or magic elements might, do some damage and support, but everything is mission goals. Because in any wargaming system, you have to do 2 things. So we're jumping back for a second here. As a single player, whether I'm competitive or narrative, my army needs to do 2 things. We've got a mission to play. That mission varies, but we've got a mission to play. So my army needs to be able to win that mission. Control the hill, take the table quarters, deal something with these points, break through the line, get into the recon zone, force your opponent out of your deployment zone, whatever it's going to be. I need to make sure that I win that mission goals. Likewise, I need to be every turn reducing your model count, causing casualties, blowing stuff up, forcing stuff off the table, whatever it's going to be. I need to be reducing that every single turn so you can't do your mission goals, and I can do my mission goals. Now, my army, if I'm a single player, I've got 2 factions, 2 pieces of a complete army trying to do those 2 things. When we go to doubles tournaments, we optimize our army 100% for either one player destroys, the other player supports. And when you do that, you're not really going up against an optimized army against your opponents, because most opponents will have both of those elements in their army, and they'll be working together, coordinated, of course, but kind of pushing those elements forward. Where if one player is all in on this and one player is all in on that, plus there's nothing to communicate, there's nothing to talk about, there's nothing to discuss at the table to give plans away. It's also a little bit unsettling when you're playing a doubles tournament, right? Because most people don't want their miniatures to evaporate quickly and get destroyed. It's a little bit unsettling when turn 1, the entirety of an opponent's army is suddenly in your deployment zone and destroying you. You've got to deal with it, right? That's deployment lockdown, where one player goes out and attacks so much with everything that the other players are like, yes, we turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, we've got to start winning mission goals and positioning ourselves for mission objectives, but we can't because my man just has this whole army here dropping everything in. Okay, we destroyed it, but we took some losses, but we're still ahead of the game. But now we're turn 5, 6, 7, 8 end game, and it's too late because the other person on that team went ahead and secured mission objectives, whether that's end game mission objectives or every turn you earn battle points or whatever that map point is going to be, you're doing that. I find when I've played double tournaments doing that, especially depending on the rule set, like Warhammer 40,000, you can make some army builds that are very, very aggressive and very, very damage dealing, but they're awful at mission objectives. Well, that's okay, because I get that other army, that other player for those mission objectives. So a little bit of a framework if you're jumping into competitive tournament play. I've been pushing up to the list there, looking at single play. Now we've got some double tournament stuff rolling out, and we're going to finish it off with advice as a team tournament, how to leverage yourself so that not only your individual score is up there, but some things that the team can do together, even while you're playing individual games, to help push your score up. So at the end of the event, when you get that ranking, you're up there in the top third.